right, so in this lesson, we're going to be talking about chord substitutions, what they are, how you can find them, and why they're so important when it comes to improvising. It took me many years to understand that you could take two chords and put them together in real time and create a whole different sound. And so there's a little formula for being able to do it, and I'm going to show you at least my thought process for that. And by the end of this video, you're going to be able to use chord substitutions in real time when you're improvising. So in this video, we're going to go through the first half of this lesson. If you'd like to watch the second half, download the tablature, download the MP3 jam track. And by the way, I have multiple jam tracks. I have one for each chord, and they're 10 minutes long each. And I did that so that you can practice playing substitutions over each chord and really understand the sound and how it works. So if you want those extras, you can get those by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP529. All right, so in this lesson, we're going to be looking at substitutions for both major chords and minor chords. That way we're covering all of our bases. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and play my G chord using the E shape. This is from the cage system. These three fingers, not the bar, but these three are making up the E shape from the first position. Now, if I'm playing that and I'm barring here on the 3rd fret, so the first substitution we're going to look at goes like this. You take that bar and you move down 1 fret with your index finger, play that note, then play the 3rd fret 2nd string, and then play the 4th fret 3rd string. It makes a little stair step there. What did I just play? Well, those notes are actually part of a minor triad. Anytime you see this little stair step shape, you're playing a minor triad. And when I play the full chord, you can now hear it. It is definitely a minor chord, right? It's a B minor. And so what's interesting though is this, if I play that with a G chord underneath it, it sounds like this. So I'm actually playing a G major 7 chord by stacking this minor triad on top of it. If I play this minor triad on top of a G chord, I'm getting a major 7 chord sound, that dreamy kind of jazzy sound. Let me go ahead and play with a jam track. I'm going to get the G chord that just loops over and over again, and I'm going to talk us through this. All right, so I have my G chord that's just looping in the background over and over again. This is one of those extra files that I was mentioning comes with this lesson. This is going to loop for about 10 minutes. And I have 5 different chords that come with a lesson that you can do this with. And what we're going to do is we're going to experiment playing, layering some stuff on top of this G chord. The first thing I want to try is that B minor triad. So check this out. Listen to that. Totally changes the feel of that G chord. I can strum the chord, I can play the arpeggio. But I'm just playing that B minor chord on top of the G major chord to create a whole new sound. It's a G major 7 sound. One sidebar that's just kind of interesting, I don't want to turn this into a lesson on modes, but if you play, since that's the B minor chord, if I play the B minor scale on top of this G chord, listen to this. Hear that kind of dreamy, spacey sound? That's Lydian mode. That's G Lydian mode. So when I play my B natural minor scale on top of the G, in that case I'm playing G Lydian. Sidebar, I don't want to distract this. Anyway, that's what's going on. So that dreamy sound, if you're ever improvising and you want to be able to play this, you know how to find this now based on your E chord shape. So this is my G chord using the E shape. Remember where the bar is. I just go down 1 fret with my index finger and I play that little stair step. Right, that minor triad, and I'm able to get at it really easily. So that's one quick formula for doing that. Now here's the next one, the next sound. So let's go back to our G chord using the E shape. Where these 2 fingers are, this is up here on the 5th fret. If I put my index finger on the 5th fret 1st string, and then I play make that same little stair step. Listen to that sound. Another minor triad played on top of my G chord. It gives me another sound, and more of a bluesy sound this time. Now what I'm playing when I do that is I'm actually playing a G9 chord. So if you ever want to get at a 9 chord, now based on this E chord shape, you can quickly get there. Now that's a different sound than that dreamy major 7 sound. Those two don't usually play together very well. So if you want to pull it more of a bluesy direction, you're going to come into that. Now, as I've talked about many times, anytime you've got a 9 chord, you can always go up 2 frets and play that same triad, that same minor triad, and you're playing a 6 chord. You know how I talk about my 6 to the 9 chord? And that's what's going on there. I'm using that minor triad, but when I'm playing it here, it's a 9 chord. When I'm playing it up here, it's a 6 chord. It's a G6 chord. So as a quick review, we have our G major 7, we have our G9, and we have our G6. All using that same little stair-step triad. One other note about the G6 chord is that would be my E minor triad, and E minor is the relative minor of G. Make that connection in your head. Oh yeah, the relative minor of whatever major chord, if I play that triad, I'm playing a 6 chord. Hopefully a light bulb just went off for somebody out there. Now this chord, that 6 chord, you hear that in old country songs? You know, like pedal steel players would play that. All right, so hopefully you're starting to get excited about this and seeing some of the possibilities for what this can do for your playing. All right, now let's take a look at minor chords. All right, so I have my minor chord that's looping now. This is an A minor chord. This is that extra jam track that comes with this lesson. And I'm gonna be up in this position. You don't have to play this, but I'm just, I want you to visualize it. So I'm playing my A minor chord up here. That's where I'm barring on the 5th fret. And these 2 fingers are making up the E minor shape. So think of your E minor chord in first position. If we were to play it up here in capo with our index finger, we're playing an A minor. So where these 2 fingers are, so let that be your anchor, your visual anchor. And where these 2 fingers are, we're going to come up here, that's the 7th fret, we're going to play with our index finger on that fret, and we're going to play that same little minor triad, the stair-step shape, with our index finger here on the 7th fret, 1st string. Listen to what that sounds like on top of this A minor chord. Totally changes the feel of it. And it sounds to me more spacey or dreamy, or like a Pink Floyd song or something. Now when I'm playing, when I do that, that's actually an E minor triad, but when I play an E minor triad on top of an A minor chord, I'm getting an A minor 9 sound. Totally different sound. And I can play the E minor arpeggio, or I could even play the E natural minor scale. And what I do what I get when I do that is I get Dorian mode. So that's putting me into A Dorian when I play that E natural minor scale on top of that. So anyway, I don't want to turn this into a modes thing, but that's what's going on there. Now, as I mentioned with the G chord when we were playing over the G chord, you could take your 9 chord and slide it up 2 frets to get your 6 chord. Well, that's not the case when you're playing in a minor over a minor chord like this. It kind of ends at the 9 chord. If you go up 2 frets and try and play that minor triad there, it's not going to sound right. There's going to be one note that clashes. So I'll just kind of leave that there. So that's as far as we get with that. The other chord that I want to show you that works over this minor chord is actually a major chord, and that's a C major chord. So even though it's a A minor chord that's playing, I can play this C major triad. I can play it anywhere. And what I'm getting is an A minor 7 sound. And so if you look at when you're playing this bar chord here, this A minor bar chord, inside of that bar there, I'm already playing that triad anyway. Well, if I'm playing an A minor 7 this way, it's in there, right? And so that's in there. So that means that all my C stuff will actually work as well. So if I'm playing my C major scale, since that's a C major chord, it sounds minor, and that's because the A minor chord underneath it is making that C major scale turn into, actually it's turning into the natural minor scale, or Aeolian mode if we're thinking modes. And just remember that your A minor is your relative minor of C. Oh yeah, like, right? So some light bulbs are going off. So I'm just playing. So remember, your major chord and its relative minor, they share the same scale. So your A natural minor scale is your C major scale. So anyway, I didn't want to turn this into a scale thing. This is more about chords and chord substitutions, but all of that stuff is there and it's all connected. And so my last point on that is your pentatonic scales work as well. So your C major pentatonic scale is the same as your A minor pentatonic scale for that reason. All right, so now that we have all that background information, let's listen to the song that I played in the intro one more time. We'll listen to the first part of it and then we'll break it down. Okay, so it starts off with me just strumming a chord, strumming a G chord. So that's going to be the first chord we're going to play over, is that G. And I played, the first thing that I played goes, all I'm doing is playing the top part of the G chord, or this little G triad really, barring the first two strings on the 3rd fret and then playing the 4th fret 3rd string. But I slid into it. So nothing clever there, just playing the chord, right? Or arpeggiating the chord. But then I went. So this is that B minor triad that we talked about. And when I play that B minor triad on top of the G chord, it gives it a G major 7 sound. So that's that first substitution. And that's just so powerful to me. Like when I realized how that works, that I could just, and you can now easily find this, this minor triad based on your E chord shape. Hopefully that's an easy way to connect it in your mind. But once you know that it's the B minor, you can play other B minor triads and get the same effect. You don't have to just do it here. You can play it anywhere you can play a B minor triad. So, and then the little walk up. This is where the song goes to an E minor chord. And these notes, by the way, are just the G major scale. All right, so the song goes to the E minor chord, and then I played. So I'm still playing that same B minor triad, even though the chord switched to an E minor. Now think about that for a minute. Pause this video if you need to work that out. Why would that work? Why would that B minor triad work over that E minor chord? Well, I'll assume you've paused and worked this out. Remember let's go back to our A minor. Remember I said you've got these two fingers, we're using the E shape, right? And these two fingers are up here on the 7th fret, and you make that minor triad here. Well, there it is, right? I'm playing my E minor chord, and so I'm coming to where those two fingers are, and I'm playing that. Oh, it happens to be the B minor. So even though the chords are changing, it doesn't mean I have to change. I can stay right where I was at. It's going to totally color it and give a different sound now. I'm going to be playing an E minor 9 chord. But hopefully you can see what's going on there. And what I love about that, and I tried to do quite a bit of this, is minimal movement. You don't have to play all over the fretboard. Just repeat where you're at, because it's going to mean something totally different as the chords change. So while the song stayed on that E minor, we played that E minor 9, and then I came up here and went. And this is my E minor triad, right? So I went from the E minor 9 to an E minor, and I slid into it. Same little stair-step shape though. And then I played. Now these extra notes are all just from the G major scale, nothing really clever there. So after this, the song switches to an A minor. And I stayed here playing the E minor triad. Why? Why did that work? Again, quiz yourself, pause the video and try and work that out. Why would this E minor triad work when the chord was in A minor? You know the answer now, right? Because we already talked about it. That would be an A minor 9. It just so happens that that E minor, that was the chord that we were on, it also means A minor 9. And then I came down here and played this, the first 3 strings on the 5th fret. That's my A minor, right? That would be the top 3 strings out of that A minor chord. So you can see that that works over an A minor chord because it makes it an A minor 9, and that works because it's an A minor. And then I threw in a little embellishment while I was playing that bar. I came up here to the 7th fret 1st string and played that. And then the song goes to a D7 chord. And I remember the last thing that I played was this A minor triad. So what I ended up doing was I walked up to here and barred the first 3 strings on the 7th fret for my D chord, or the D7 chord. Now, this one's going to be a little bit of a tricky one. So pause the video. We've covered this, but pause the video and ask yourself, why is that working? That triad, that would be like a B minor triad. Why would that be working over a D7 chord? Well, the answer is over a D7 chord, which is major. When I play this, that's a 6 chord. And when I play this, that's a 9 chord. And these are minor triads, but I'm playing them different. I'm voicing them different. So I didn't have room to do it the way that I did, using the E shape. Remember, we started this using the E shape. So if I were to play that, I'd be playing up here. Be playing my D chord up here. So this would be my 9 chord, and this would be my 6 chord. But that's too high. But it's the same notes. Listen, it's just a different voicing of it. So I remember the last thing I played for the A minor chord was this A minor triad, and then when the song goes to the D, I just walked it up 2 frets and played a D6. I came up here and hit the D note with my pinky, and then walked it down to the D9. All right, so there's a second part to this song, but we're going to wrap up this part 1 video right there. That's a lot of information that we've already covered. If you have any questions about any of this, always feel free to ask them wherever you're watching this video. And if you like this video, if you've learned something from it, or you just found it to be helpful, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up and leave a comment. That's always helpful to read those. I get encouraged when I see that, and it makes me want to create more like this, or maybe less like this, depending on what the comment is. All right, we'll see you in part 2 where we'll go over the second half.